The Forgotten Asylum. In the small, isolated town of Ravenswood, an eerie structure loomed on the outskirts, shrouded in mist and shadow. This was Blackwood Asylum, an abandoned psychiatric hospital that had long since fallen into disrepair. Stories about the asylum had been passed down through generations, each more terrifying than the last. Locals avoided it at all costs, but its grim history continued to fascinate those brave, or foolish, enough to seek it out. One autumn evening, a group of college students, driven by a mix of curiosity and the desire for a thrill, decided to explore Blackwood Asylum. There was Jack, the self-appointed leader with a taste for adventure; Sarah, the skeptical voice of reason; Emily, the quiet and studious one with a penchant for ghost stories; and Mark, the tech-savvy guy who insisted on documenting everything. Armed with flashlights, a video camera, and a bundle of nerves, they made their way to the asylum just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The rusted gate creaked open, and they stepped onto the overgrown path leading to the imposing building. The wind howled through the trees, whispering warnings they chose to ignore. "Are we really doing this?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Come on, it's just an old building," Jack replied, trying to sound confident. "We'll be in and out in no time." They reached the main entrance, a pair of heavy wooden doors that groaned in protest as they pushed them open. The air inside was stale, carrying the faint scent of decay. Their footsteps echoed through the grand foyer, the once ornate decorations now crumbling and covered in dust. Mark set up his camera, its red recording light blinking in the darkness. "This is going to be epic," he said, trying to inject some enthusiasm into the eerie atmosphere. They started their exploration, moving from room to room, each one a testament to the asylum's tragic past. They found patient records scattered across the floor, detailing treatments that were more like tortures. Rusty restraints hung from the walls, and gurneys lay overturned in the hallways. In the basement, they stumbled upon the remains of what had once been the morgue. The cold, sterile environment sent shivers down their spines. Emily noticed a set of filing cabinets in the corner, their drawers slightly ajar. She hesitated, then pulled one open, revealing stacks of old photographs. "Look at these," she whispered, holding up a picture of a young woman with hollow eyes and a haunting expression. "Who do you think she was?" Sarah asked, peering over Emily's shoulder. "One of the patients, probably," Jack replied. "Let's keep moving." As they delved deeper into the asylum, the atmosphere grew heavier, more oppressive. They began to hear strange noises, whispers that seemed to come from nowhere, and distant screams that echoed through the empty halls. Sarah clung to Jack's arm, her skepticism giving way to fear. The footage from Mark's camera spread quickly online, drawing the attention of thrill seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and skeptics alike. Despite the grim warning embedded in the students' final moments, the allure of Blackwood Asylum grew stronger, turning it into a macabre hotspot for those eager to test their courage against the dark legend. Among these new thrill seekers was a seasoned urban explorer named Kyle. He had built a reputation on his YouTube channel by delving into abandoned places and uncovering their hidden histories. When he learned about the footage from Blackwood Asylum, he saw it as the ultimate challenge and a way to cement his status as the best in the urban exploration community. Kyle assembled a small team for the exploration: Jenny, his girlfriend, and camera operator; Marcus, a former history major with a deep interest in the asylum's past; and Lena, a tech guru who had a knack for detecting and debunking paranormal phenomena. The four of them were determined to uncover the truth behind the whispers and the disappearance of the previous group. They arrived at Ravenswood on a foggy evening, the town shrouded in an oppressive silence. The locals watched them with a mix of pity and concern, their eyes following the team's every move. The old legends weighed heavily in the air, but Kyle brushed off the warnings with a confident grin. "This is going to be epic," he said, echoing Mark's fateful words. The team set up their base at the edge of the asylum's grounds, unpacking their equipment as the sun set. Kyle gave a quick briefing, outlining their plan to methodically explore each floor and document everything they encountered. They were prepared with night vision cameras, EMF detectors, and an array of sensors designed to capture any paranormal activity. As they crossed the threshold into the asylum, the temperature seemed to drop instantly. The heavy wooden doors creaked open, revealing the grand foyer now cloaked in shadows. The familiar scent of decay greeted them, and the whispers began almost immediately, faint but unmistakable. "Do you hear that?" Jenny asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's just the wind," Kyle replied, though his eyes darted nervously around the room. They moved through the asylum, the beams of their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The cameras recorded everything, capturing the dilapidated state of the building and the eerie silence that hung over it. As they ventured deeper, they encountered the same scenes of horror that the previous group had witnessed: the rusted restraints, the overturned gurneys, and the scrawled messages on the walls. In the basement, Marcus found a stack of patient records similar to the ones Emily had discovered. He pored over them, his flashlight illuminating pages filled with grim details of experimental treatments and horrific outcomes. "These people suffered terribly," he said, a note of sorrow in his voice. "No wonder their spirits are restless." Upstairs, Lena's EMF detector began to spike, the readings going off the charts. "There's definitely something here," she said, her voice tight with excitement and fear. "These readings are insane." As they reached the top floor, the atmosphere grew even heavier, the whispers louder and more insistent. They entered the row of cells, finding the same "help me" message smeared in dried blood. Jenny shuddered, gripping Kyle's arm tightly. "We need to be careful," she said. "Something is very wrong here." Kyle nodded, his earlier bravado fading. They continued, their senses on high alert. Suddenly, Lena's equipment started malfunctioning, the screens flickering and shutting off. "What the hell?" she muttered, frantically trying to reset her devices. At that moment, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the halls. It wasn't one of their own. The team froze, their eyes wide with terror. The shadows around them seemed to shift and grow, figures emerging from the darkness. "Run!" Kyle shouted, and they bolted down the hallway, their footsteps echoing through the asylum. The asylum twisted and turned, the familiar maze trapping them in its nightmarish grip. Panic set in as they realized they were running in circles, unable to find their way out. The whispers grew louder, the voices filled with malevolence. Marcus tripped, his flashlight skittering across the floor. He screamed as cold hands reached out from the shadows, pulling him back. Kyle and Jenny tried to help him, but the shadows were too strong, dragging Marcus into the darkness. "Marcus!" Lena screamed, but there was nothing they could do. They reached the grand foyer, the front doors still closed. Kyle threw himself against them, trying to force them open, but they wouldn't budge. The laughter of the spirits filled the air, mocking their efforts. "We're trapped," Jenny cried, tears streaming down her face.